know like a fish out of water. Rooted the faint of a dime. Sit alone in one water, Yankee quarter.
WEFM, the clean fresh sound.
WhatsApp us or call us at 457-9997. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All righty, so the time here in SVG, it is 7:45, and we are into another commentary segment on our Activated Mornings program. And already on the line, we have Mr. Kingsley Defreitas. Kingsley, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. Everything is okay with me. I had a wonderful night, yeah? You don't want to know the details? You want to know the details?
Yeah, we all adults say nobody listening. It's just me and Dianna listening. Tell me.
I don't know why my friend there next to you to hear, so I'll keep it until I see him posted.
All right.
I like the discussion where discipline seems to be lost in its way. But I grew up in an area, right, where we had some teachers that we identified who came from the same area when we used to go to school. I refer to Victor Byron. He's from the Daphne area. It had a guy called Tommy King. He saw us keep a ruler in his hand. You know, we did with that. It had a lady named Miss Murphy. And it had head teacher each time was Mr. Bruce Mulray. Every time you see him, he have a strap over his shoulder. I don't know if the intimidation, well, it appears the intimidation of flogging used to work. So everybody used to be on the P's and the Q's calling the old people. And yes, I can't remember my parents ever come to a PTA meeting because my mother was a kind of a stay-home kind of person. But I agree that something is lacking in the teaching profession in terms of the level of discipline we see instilled to the children from the teachers. And as you say earlier, we're not blaming, we're just saying it as it is. When you look at the amount of criminality that's taking place and the age, I see recently a young man from, I think it's Castanheira recently, is now charged for double murder. The guy didn't lose the baby face yet.
At 23. Mm-hmm.
At 23. But when I was 23, I can't remember what he used to do. What was it? Concentrate on dealing with the issue of crime. And it's really unfair to today's society like us who's getting old. Or I don't know if your lady is getting old like me, but it is really unfair that we have to put up with this menace of going here, there, everywhere. And we don't want to blame, but I agree with you that some parents have to take the responsibility because I used to live in a coastal area and I go here, some parents say, boy, look sharp your coyote. When you get out of school, drop by off, let the teacher them deal with all you. The bunch of indisciplined children, you know. So they drop off by the school and the children is left there for the teachers to find some level of method to deal with them. And it is really frightening that we have a society that is coming to its own. And the lack of discipline that is taking place, we have to wonder, who should we blame? Is it today's society? Is it the parents, poor lack of parenting? But I'm from the school where I believe that the teachers in my time did a good job. I tell you, if you go up top there and you ask anybody for Tommy King, they will show you where he lives. Yes, he lives in Curtis. We have Victor Byron. He was kind of quiet, but he was more lethal. When he talked, no doubt back. Miss Murphy, when she come to the school, you know she coming to beat you if you behave bad. And when they don't think that you deserve, they beat it, they send it to Mr. Mulray, and he had a strap on his shoulder. And I don't know if you remember that I sat with your school, they used to give you a thing that, oh, they were so the strap in you and say go sting your hand.
Yeah. Yes.
I never buy I used to why they flag you with this strap over your shoulder, they will give you a print on your white shirt. And you know, because of the level of fear, what we used to do? We used to put the books in our back so that we wouldn't have the impact on our body where the teachers flag. Yeah, we used to do that. And I can remember two parents come to the school to confront Miss Murphy because I have to tell you the truth. Miss Murphy was really kind of a little bit more than the average teacher. But today, if you go in our area where some of the children who are not grown like Curtis, kind of those people will tell you that they are better off because they used to get flogged. I don't know why you have to go to the Ministry of Education to make an application to flog a child. That's total nonsense. Your child just behave. You have a teacher who is trying for the level of discipline in school. Beat the children them. But when you have parents running to the ministry to complain that the teacher is flogging the children with a strap or find some method, you think a teacher is going to allow a parent to come to the school, the ministry to complain, but they'll just have a last attitude like the same one that you identify in the young lady voice who's sitting next to you. This is tell me, right? You know, we teaching order. We don't got education in the head. If you don't want to learn, too bad for you. And we don't want teachers to have that kind of attitude towards children. But if that is what going to keep them in line, we have to do that. But I am in your corner that some level of blame have to go to the parents. And when you look at the average age of parents today, wow, the parents today is young, like 24. They just need some flogging.
But you know, you made that point. You made that point about parents being young. But remember, even too, back in your time and my time, parents were also young, right? So we're actually making children even younger than 24, etc. But at least at that point, when they knew that they brought a child into the world, that it was a serious responsibility. And I think that is what is missing. It's not so much the age, but it's the responsibility on taking on the responsibility of what it means to actually raise a proper child.
Yeah, but here, let me tell you something. I agree with you that people in our time had made mistakes and get pregnant, right? But you know what was used to be the way you fire them down? You used to shame them. In a civil pregnant, we used to caution and we point the finger. So it used to be like a cause to get pregnant under a certain age. I am seeing those same children who born in other circumstances are quality citizens in my area. Like you might hear I boast about my area, Fountain, Billy, Gumi. People in that area is very disciplined. And I could tell you the effort they're making is because of their parents and these good teachers like Victor Byron, Tommy King, Miss Murphy, Mr. Maureen, instill that level of discipline in the children in the care in the time. And I am wondering if something more needs to be done to encourage teachers to pay a little bit more attention to this school and the children in the environment. And that's my pigeon. That's my rant for the day. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.
All right, you as well, Kingsley. Have a good one. All right, so that was Kingsley's contribution. All right, so yes, I take this call. Hi, Joshua. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you guys doing?
We all right.
I disagree with Kingsley 100%. Now, before I go on, let me clear the air on something. I get a lot of inbox messages about me. Why do you keep beating up on Kingsley? I'll tell you something about Kingsley. Kingsley, despite my hitting out at him at times, is somebody that walks the talk. And I'll give you the 30-second version. When I came to St. Vincent during COVID, I was actually harassed and detained by the Black Squad. Kingsley was supposed to pick me up. When about an hour or so later I got out, Kingsley wasn't there, but there was this young man who said, I think it's his nephew, my Uncle Kingsley asked me to pick you up. On the way to the hotel, Kingsley called about twice to make sure I was okay. So for those of you who think that I hate Kingsley, I neither hate nor love Kingsley. If Kingsley says something stupid, I'm going to hit out at him. So on with my little rant now before my 30 seconds run out. Does discipline have to be physical? I'm asking you ladies this. Answer me, please.
No.
Does it have to be physical?
No. And I don't
My-
think we would necessarily even trying to zero in on it being physical
Yes,
either.
I'm aware. I'm aware of that, Roleza, but just say me true, please. My first day in the classroom was a nightmare. When I walked in, I was smarter than all the students, and they gave me hell. I sat in the back and I cried for about 10 minutes. Then the bully stood up, came to me, chucked me on my shoulder, and said, "Are you going to sit on that ball? You're not going to teach me?" I said, "No, I'm not going to teach you." So I sat there for a whole class and did not teach anything. Then I picked out the bully and I made him like the class monitor. Discipline started there. One look at Chico, and I'll call his name, I don't know if he's still alive, and the whole class was quiet. There was one young lady who's a very successful business person in Bermuda, in St. Vincent right now. She said to me, "You put your hand on me and I got a stone with your name on it." I went to her mother. The mother said, "Well, she said she got a stone. She got a stone." And I know that young lady is listening to me now, and I didn't have to hit them to bring them in line. I found other ways. So Kingsley, beating does not solve anything because I got more licks than you could find in a Tootsie bar. And all it did was to make me bitter and angry. So there are other ways. Let us find other ways to deal with our children.
Yeah, I don't
and
think.
not beat them.
Yeah, I didn't interpret what Kingsley said as what he wants to see happen now in terms of beating or corporal punishment. I think what he was talking about was back in the day when just the fear of possibly being beaten used to get some persons to fall in line. I didn't get the impression that he meant for it to continue today.
No, I don't. I am not too concerned about what message he was putting across. I'm just saying there is another way, because when you beat a donkey, you do not break that donkey's spirit. All the donkey says is, "Let me give in, because if I don't give in, he's going to keep beating me. But the first chance I get to kick his butt, I'm going to do it." Have a good day.
All right. All right. Thanks, Joshua. All right. So I don't. So I am not the biggest fan of flicks or beating persons. I do think that there are different ways that a child can be disciplined that doesn't have to involve physical punishment. But I do note that for some children, just the fear or the thought of being beaten causes them to fall in line. So you had to know your child. I think that's what it is. You had to know your child.
Somebody, I believe this was from Pigeon, they were saying, what is your definition of discipline? Should you as a teacher not be there to guide a child's mind? If not, then you should not be anywhere near children. Children will learn from events around them. Punishment is an example they will use to solve problems as adults because it was taught to them as children. The person also asked, did they try speaking to the children instead of speaking at them? One of the things that there's this whole topic of teaching and discipline, it really annoys me sometimes, because whenever you see teachers in the news for something that people don't see as decent, like the one that was in the news the other day because she posed in whatever picture, you always hear, oh, teachers, all of a sudden teachers are to be held in such high esteem and teachers are supposed to be respectful and respected and all sorts of things. But the minute the topic comes up of a teacher disciplining a chair, all of a sudden people have all sorts of issues against teachers, right? Do you want to?
Go ahead. You can take it. Hi, caller. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I just want to join in with what is being discussed this morning.
Sure.
One of the fundamental things we need to realize is that every person, including children, right? Every person is different.
Correct.
So the method of reaching a child is not the same for all the children. Mm-hmm. But in St. Vincent, what I think is happening is that we have a system that is enabling ill discipline. Let me explain. Within the school system, there are laws governing when corporal punishment should be administered, how it should be administered. Okay? Then there are parents who I consider to have their pet pigs who will be against the use of corporal punishment within the school. Then we have the lawyers who will be grabbing for finance whenever teachers would have gone outside of the rule as it used of the strap and so on. So what I think the first step in dealing with discipline within school is that the teachers become familiar with the process, as in the legal process as it relates to when and where corporal punishment should be administered. Because once again, there are parents out there who are just up in arms because they can't control a child or children at home. Mm-hmm. So we ask the question, when the strap is being used, if there's a mark on the hand, does that mean that the child was abused? Not necessarily. Mm-hmm. So if the parent goes to the Ministry of Education and then he gets to the courts, then there should be something within the school to show that the process are being adhered to. So, for example, I ask teachers, my teachers, this is what I think you should do. Make sure you have records as to what the child did and what was done in that situation. Mm-hmm. So in the event that the strap is used and there's a mark on the child's hand or the children's hand, then there is evidence to prove that you would have gone the way of the law. But I think the law is enabling that. Because, for example, we have people going to United States, Canada, England long ago, and they excelled. And they excelled because of discipline right here in St. Vincent. They were in order. And those were the times when, let me use nice words, please, blows were the thing, right? And because people fear the lashes and the pain, they will choose, well, you know what? Instead of feeling this pain, let me do the right thing. These are the people now, okay, who are now, most of them, let me correct myself, most of them are against the use of the strap. I am not saying, let me repeat, I am not saying use the strap at all times. There are different levels to be used in terms of discipline. But we have to realize we are having children in our classrooms who are coming from homes, like a little cell in terms of the body. And when we have a cell that decides that it's going to go out of order, then we have a big problem. We call it a cancer. And this is what we are facing because within the home, we have ill discipline. Parents are ill discipline. They're passing on the ill discipline to the children. And when the children come to school, the teachers are trying their best. I heard my fellow sister say that she cried several times, and I know why she cried. Because it's a hard thing to go in there and you meet a certain age group of children within the primary system who you think should be functioning at a certain level. But the biggest distraction within the class is ill discipline. So you're trying to get your information across, you try all your strategies, and it's like it's not working, and you put your hand up because you know within your home as that teacher, you had order. But here are children who are so ill-disciplined that you can't even reach them because you try to, and the first thing you get, Mommy say go to Ministry of Education. And then the system engenders and enables that kind of behavior. But guess what? After the teachers have done all they could do, and these persons have reached the legal age where they could be charged for certain crimes, the very same system incarcerates them. So the point I make here, if we as a society, if do not start dealing with parents to say, look, you are creating monsters in our nation. And in you creating monsters, we as a society need to curb that. We need to deal with you as adults who are having children and are not raising them properly. So I'm thinking that is where we should start. I'm looking for a solution. We know there's a problem. So I'm thinking the solution is, let's get to the parents and at the same time, look at the legal system that is supporting negative behavior within the school as it relates to children. That's my contribution, my sisters. Do you have yourself a good day?
You as well, and thanks for your contribution. All right, so before we head on out of this segment, I see that there's somebody who made a comment. Let's see.
Discipline, somebody says discipline should start at home with parents, and they don't get that. Children will not respect teachers. Another person said, I spent my whole childhood being afraid to make mistakes at school because the teacher was always threatening punishment. My mistakes were my way to find the answers I was looking for and to understand why I failed the first time. Somebody else says, well, in terms of the beating, it says slaves were beaten. I justified in beating my wife if she steps out of line. Not necessarily commenting on the responses here on the WhatsApp, but just to say, right, there is a difference between fair and discipline. And I think for even some of our parents, what they instilled in us was fair and thinking that it was discipline. I get that. I never wanted to be the teacher that children were afraid of, because I recognize that if they're afraid of me, they're going to have a mental block because they're going to be worried about coming to my class. I wanted them, when they think of coming to school, they think they're coming to my class and they're happy to come to my class. There are several forms of punishment other than licks. Some people would put children out of the class. I don't believe in putting them out of the class, because for some of them, that's not punishment. They like that. They want to be outside.
But does the ministry say you can't put children out?
I don't even know, to be honest. Probably.
It's in the secondary school, but I think, yeah.
Then there's detention. I've been told that it is said that you're not supposed to take away break from them. Either they love games, they love going for PE. So sometimes I would say, you know what, you're not going to get to go for games if, you behave like this. And there are times when I actually would not send them out, but then I would feel sorry for them, and sometimes I would really feel sorry for them just sitting there, and I would send them out eventually. And sometimes because the PE teachers travel to come to this school, and I would be like, you know what, I don't want them to come here in vain.
Okay.
So I would still send out the children. There is a difference in the children back then, because sometimes even when you speak to older teachers and older adults in the society, they like to talk about, oh, back then this was the way. There's a difference between the children back then and the children now. I could tell you right now, there are some children, you want to know if they were sent from hell, because nothing you do. And my last class that I taught, it was such a horrible class. None of the other teachers wanted to go. All who had a degree and they the umpteen years of service and who brag on, but they did not want to go there. I accepted the challenge and I went there, and it was so terrible. And there's this particular child in the class, Roleza, there's nothing you didn't try with this child. The child just did not care. This is a child that even some parents had taken into their homes to try and deal with. And you would send to the ministry. But what does the ministry do with children like this? They just transfer them. Because he was transferred into our school. So there's nothing. This child would not do any work. This child would tell you what he feel like telling you. He would cause. And then there are other children now, because children seem to like negativity. They go to him and they like the things that they probably see him as a hero, and they follow the things that, so he's not doing any work. He's tearing up other children's work. He's stabbing children with pencil. He's threatening teachers. He's threatening children, threatening parents. And the child is still in the school. And you have parents would cause teachers, I do not know, me not going to satisfaction, but our hands are tied. So you have things like this. And this to me, this topic, I done. That's it, I done.
All right, you raised an interesting point, and we're just going to take maybe like 2 more minutes for this, because we are over time. But you use the word fair, right? And there are times when... So yes, discipline or the threat of being beaten, just discipline on a whole. Let me not look at the being beaten part, right? Parents want for you to fear them. And I always have to wonder about that line from the Bible where we have to fear God. But is it that we're supposed to be afraid, or the fear that we're supposed to have is a sort of reverence and respect? And for me, that's what it's supposed to be, respect, right? Fearing the person in authority means that you are respecting the person in authority, not because you do not want to have an encounter with that individual, right? So I think maybe that is what it is. That is really and truly what the goal is supposed to be, where in a classroom setting, children are supposed to be able to respect you. I know that when I started teaching, I've forever been small, right? So I was always smaller than many of the children. I was just a little bit older than many of them as well. But the thing of it is that I think that I still had a bit of a good command of the class, because it was a matter of respect. And they knew what it was that they were here for, So I would admit that one of the reasons why I got out of teaching is because I did not have a love for it. And I also do think that many persons despite the fact that I actually did what it is that I was supposed to do, I got out of it because I knew that this wasn't for me. So rather than allow the system to beat me down, or to let the situation beat me down, I got out of it. And I think maybe that is also one of the things that many persons need to do, right? Don't just be be teaching because you want to have the long vacation time, right?
Yeah.
You have to know that. For me, at the end of the day, it was what it is, the role that I was going to play, or as a teacher, the role that you're going to play in this child's development. So it wasn't a case of going in and just doing something half-baked, because at the end of it, you're going to get half-baked results, and it's going to impact on a child's life. So while it is that, yes, we heavily put in that focus on parents, I also think that some teachers also need to be honest with themselves as well. All right? And
I was gonna say something, but I forget it.
Oh, all right. And I have a former student who was listening. So she told me to read this on air. So I'm reading it on air. So she says, I'm listening to you. Please let you know that you are a great teacher, one of our very best. You used to make English fun, especially English B. So, I mean, and this is somebody who I'm probably like 3-4 years older, if so much, right? But the thing of it is that you have to have a love of the things that you're doing. And especially when you are imparting knowledge, you have to love what you're doing. Because if you don't, we are going to end up in a situation with parents who don't care, teachers who don't care, a whole system that doesn't care. And at the end of it, we're going to be reading things in the media that we're not going to be happy with. All right. Especially when it comes to children who have fallen. Well, children turned into adults who have fallen through the cracks. So, yeah. We all have to take stock of ourselves, okay?
So I remember the thing now. So anyways, this wasn't it there, but just to say, there are several forms of discipline that teachers, even myself, I have tried. This is the point I was going to make now. There were days when I went home from school and I did not even want to speak to my child. I would go home and I would go in the bedroom and I would say, Tyler, do not bother me, do not call me. And in those moments, he could have done whatever he wanted. He could have probably go tongue and travel, yarn and come back. And I was in that bedroom. And I have a coworker. She's still teaching. And she said the same thing. She said sometimes when she goes home, she does not even want to hear the sound of her own children's voice because of what you endure in the classroom. You go home and it's like you're so overwhelmed. Me, when I used to go home and not even music I wanted to hear, not a single sound. And that's one of the things. A lot of teachers are affected. But what is there? Who is on your side?
But then you do realize that this is another cycle. Because you go home and you do not want to have any interaction with your child.
Yes.
You probably do not want to have to discipline your child. So what type of child are you creating within your own home for another teacher to have to deal with?
True.
Right? So.
True. But deal with in terms of like interact with, not in terms of misbehaving and discipline though. Like, but then
you could also be exhausted by having to pull up other people's children to now have to go and deal with your own, you know. So it is a cycle, and again, all of us have to work hand in hand. Even those of us who don't have children, pull up people's children when you see them in the streets. All right. All right. So we are going to head on out of this segment at this time. Well over time. Our time check. It's 8:13 here in SVG, and our time check is